Wait, hold on. Okay. Hello, everyone, and welcome to Los Angeles Legal Conservation Waters Smith's Weiss Environmental Champions Award. My name is Agoura Vasquez, and I am so honored to be part of this board. I'm part of the LALCV board, and I see a lot of my fellow board members that are making this event possible here with us. So for the second year in a row, we had to host this event virtually. And we generally appreciate so much your support as we navigate, the global pandemic that it seems like it's a thing of the past by now, but we're almost there. And we hope that the next time we get to celebrate with you in person for the Just Desserts event in the winter. So stay tuned, we'll let you know when that comes, but we're so appreciate that you're making the time and you are making this whole virtual world work for us for this event. So as you're aware, LALCV works to elect pro-environmental and pro-social justice candidates to local office and support ballot measures. We also promote sustainability and, of course, environmental justice. So local city and county officials, including water boards and school districts, have direct impact in our lives and the quality of our environment, and in the world to have the presence in all 88 cities. So we continue to focus on the ties between environmental justice and the larger environmental movement. Systemic racism is a pervasive problem in our society. And as our group is dedicated to protecting the environment, we also believe very strongly that the environmental justice has a broad and profound scope, encompassing social and economic justice. We love clean air, of course, and clean water, but we love the people who are struggling to breathe it and drink it even more. So we're constantly, fighting for them and keeping them in mind. And as a political action committee, as a PAC, we will be working to endorse and promote candidates that understand these issues and that are connected and are committed to making those changes. So we support standing up against racism and violence by the police and solidarity with Black Lives Matter movement. And we must also stop Asian hate crimes. And as you see, we are in Pride Month. So I am very excited to be wearing my Pride earrings. And we're also so excited to be uplifting that here with us at this event. So our honorees, let's see, yes. So right now in the screen, you see a little bit of the agenda. And as I continue sharing more about what's going to happen today, our honorees will touch on these critical themes of justice, equity, and the environment. So here's a quick rundown of the webinar today. We will start by honoring Mayor Pro Tem Deborah Klein, who is here. Thank you so much for being with us. And that will include also a Q&A for 10 minutes. So stay tuned, have your questions ready. You're gonna be able to ask them and also share them in the chat. Unfortunately, Los Angeles City Council President Nury Martinez is not able to be with us today physically in this virtual realm, but we do have some pre-recorded remarks from her to share. So we're excited also to feature her here on this event. We are proud to feature a panel of Los Angeles' finest single city council members discussing environmental issues and impacting our city. And we will tell you more about who they are, but just to give you a little bit of a sneak peek, we have Mike Bunny, Nithya Raman, we have Paul Koretz, we have Booming Fem. So we have a lot of people that are going to be able to have a rich discussion with us about environmental issues impacting our city. And given the size of our audience, we will have to do some crowd control for both our Q&A with Mayor Pro Tem Lopez and our city council panel. So if I'm not able to see something, please just extra nudge me in the chat and let me know. Or if we're not able to get your questions before the time runs out. Sometimes, we have people asking the same questions, so we try to group them. So just keep in mind that we're really trying our best to also make this engaging and also have your voices heard. We will prioritize questions related to the environment, of course, and social justice, and economic justice. Though we will try to work really hard on other questions, so don't limit yourself to the questions that you want to ask. So to ask a question, please use the Zoom Q&A feature found on the bottom of the screen right here. And after our panel, we will have a breakout session that will allow you for a much more intimate time for network with everyone in the audience and also with some of our guests. And then we'll wrap things up. So, okay, let's see. All right, so now this is a very exciting part, but it's a very long part too. So before we get started, I would like to acknowledge some of the elected officials that are popping in and out too that I'm not able to see because I'm in this virtual Zoom and I can only see my slides, but we have a pretty exciting and large, list. So if we miss anyone, please let me know in the chat and enter your name, your title. And we are so honored and excited to have you. But just so you know, we have people like Senator Ben Allen, Henry Stern, Speaker Rendon. He's been a big supporter and former board member, Assembly Member Laura Freeman, Assembly Member Richard Bloom, who is my Assembly Member. I mean, the list goes on. And Santa Monica City Council Member Karen Ferrer. Let me see who else is in here. Let me check the chat and see. Mary Sue, Major Pro Tem for Calabasas is here. Hi, Mary. It's great to have you here. And of course, we have our honorees, but we also have other people like Joanne Jacobin, who is the mayor of Agoura Hills. And let me see, Long Beach City Prosecutor Doug Hubbard. I mean, I saw some other friends that I named earlier. So thank you so much for coming and for being here with us. We see you. We love you. Peter Crowd from Calabasas, Councilmember, thank you so much for coming. It's great to see you all here. And as people come in, we will have a moment to honor you and to also uplift your name here among us friends in the environment. So we are a Environmental Political Action Committee. So we are a PAC and we focus on LA County, electing environmental champions to office. We need support from people like you in order to continue doing our work, and which is such an important work. In 2020, LALCV endorsed 78 candidates locally, and 40 went on to win the races. So we have a pretty good track record. And that's 40 new or returning environmental champions that you all get to work with and to learn from and to collaborate with and to, of course, fight for our planet. We are all on a volunteer board. None of us here gets paid or anything like that. And every dollar that you donate goes to helping elect even more environmental champions to local office. So please consider donating to us. Any little bit helps. It doesn't matter if it's $5 or $500. Your support, it makes a tremendous difference for us in our board. And like I said, it helps other people like yourselves get elected and other supporters. And it's just so great to be able to be part of an institution and an organization that is helping other people like-minded get elected to office. So please consider donating right now. We are going to put the link to the donation on the chat. And we hope that this Sunday that is beautiful and sunny in Southern California, you get to feel extra generous for our organization and of course for the environment so that we can support more and more people that can protect our planet. Okay, so I'm just gonna wait for the chat so we will drop the link to the donations to the chat. And so before we go on to introduce Agoura Hills Mayor Pro Tem Deborah Klein Lopez, who is also a former emerged sister to me, we would like to start with a land acknowledgement. And I don't know if I can see Jesse here on the screen, and maybe we can feature him so we can start our event with a land acknowledgement.
don't believe Jesse is with us today.
Okay, I'll do the land acknowledgement, you all. Hold tight. So we are on Tovenga land, or at least the folks that are here in Los Angeles. For us, it's important to remember that this is indigenous stolen land, and that we also, in the area of Los Angeles, import our water so that we are able to have a living here. So for that reason, we want to also acknowledge the people that we are taking our water from the Sierras, and also from the Owens Lake and from Colorado. So thank you to our indigenous ancestors for allowing us to do this work, and for being here, and for bringing all of us together so that we can do incredible work to continue protecting our planet and this beautiful land. Okay, so with no further ado, I'm going to introduce Deborah Klein, and I am so beyond excited to have her here. She's the mayor pro tem of the city of Agoura Hills. And Deborah was raised in San Fernando Valley, and before moving to Agoura Hills as a teenager, she grew up able to see mountain range and any direction she turned. And this helped drive her love for hiking and the outdoors and connection with nature, and a passion for environmental sustainability. After graduating from Northwest University with a degree in mathematics, you all, that is incredible, and economics, Deborah moved to Ecuador for several years, where she met her husband, Fabricio. They returned to Southern California and eventually settled back in Agoura Hills, where they raised their 3 children. Deborah's advocacy for social justice issues began long before she even realized it. She has run a weekly homelessness shelter for nearly 20 years through her congregation, allowing her to learn about the deeply complex issue of homelessness up close. As her children grew up, Deborah engaged more and more in education policies as well. She's one of the founding members of Vaccinate California, the grassroots group that helped Senate Bill 277 pass through the legislature, and strengthening vaccine rates in public schools. Over time, she became more engaged in local politics and was the very first staffer on Henry Stern's state Senate campaign, eventually working in his district office. And I think we're going to have Henry later. In 2017, Deborah was appointed by the LA City County Board of Supervisors to serve as the director on the Resource Conservation District of Santa Monica Mountains. By this time, she felt it was time for her to throw her hat in the ring and run for public office herself. She was the top vote getter in 2018 Agoura Hills City Council race, winning a seat only 2 days before the Woolsey fires ravaged, her area. And, she's gonna let us know more about that in her remarks. Deborah currently serves as a mayor pro tem of Agoura Hills, and in her capacity on the council, has represented the city on the Clean Power Alliance board for nearly 3 years. She also works as a field representative for Assemblymember Jesse Gabriel, who represents much of the San Fernando Valley. So with no further ado, please help me welcome Mayor Pro Tem Deborah Klein Lopez, and please accept this award for us, which is kind of strange because I don't have anything to physically give you, but I'm giving it from you, from the bottom of all of our hearts. And for you guys that are in Zoom all the time, you can put a little reaction of hearts or applause for her. So thank you so much for being with us. Please take it away.
I feel it. I feel the love. Thank you, Aura. Thank you, everyone, for honoring me. This is such an amazing moment, and I'm really, truly honored to be here. In fact, when Stephanie Mullen reached out to me and said that I was an honoree for this very prestigious award, I honestly thought there must be some mistake because I'm not this big heavy hitter. I don't do policy up in Sacramento. I'm not in DC. I wasn't at the Paris climate talks. I mean, you all have had some pretty heavy hitters. And so I was a little confused, and I'm just a first term city council member in a very small town. And Stephanie wrote me back and she said, and I quote, "If we can inspire other DKLs," my initial, to run in this world, if we can inspire other DKLs in the world to run in every city, we would be in a good place. And I thought, that actually is right. We actually don't have to be the heaviest of hitters to really make a difference and fight every day for justice and sustainability, and to make a real difference. So I gratefully accept this honor. Very, very happy to be in the same space as all of you. And thank you again. So what I thought I would do is really talk about what it means to be an environmental champion at the small local city council level. And the first thing, as Aura mentioned, is really not kidding yourself about how serious a commitment this is. In 2018, I was elected on a Tuesday, and by Thursday, our entire region was evacuating from the Woolsey fire, which was the most devastating fire to hit our area in 40 years. In 2019, that was followed by devastating flooding in the area, and global pandemic in 2020, a drought in 2021. So nothing like Mother Nature really showing you who's boss from day one. But backing up a bit, they say, and Aura knows this she mentioned the Emerge program, they say that women need to be asked on average about 7 times more than men to run for office. And I will say that was absolutely the case. I never thought it was in my cards to run for office, but a confluence of factors really highlighted it for me. The first one, of course, was the 2016 election. Another one was a project that came up in Agoura Hills that was a massive, massive mixed use project that was being proposed for a piece of land that really, it didn't fit. It didn't fit. And, when you live at the base of the Santa Monica Mountains, at the gateway, that's our motto, is the gateway of the Santa Monica Mountains, we really do need to work with the sacred land that is around us and in the development process. And so, to make a very long story short, this project didn't do that. And the community actually sued the city before I was on the council and won because this project was violating some of the things we really care about, like oak tree ordinances, rare native plants, Chumash archaeology, et cetera. And I thought to myself, we shouldn't be suing our city council members. We should be electing better city council members that represent our values. And I realized in this close vote, if I had been on the council, instead of being 3-2 one way, it might have been 3-2 the other way. So that's really what inspired me to run. And I will say that the election in 2018 and my spot on the council, it really has changed the balance and the focus of our council. So I'll talk about a few of those things. The first thing, as Aura mentioned, is that I serve on the Clean Power Alliance. And I have to say that of all things, I do believe that the single greatest contribution that I've made to this city is serving on the Clean Power Alliance, which most of you I'm sure are familiar with, but it is a community choice aggregate, an electricity provider that is owned and operated by us, by the municipalities that it serves. So I sit on the board. We make our own decisions about power procurement and pricing. And when we make these decisions, we factor in questions like, are we lifting up disadvantaged communities? What is the environmental impact of a brand new project? Will this create local jobs, and who will be getting those jobs? All of those things are very exciting. And as you know, Senate Bill 100 requires that our state is operating with 60% renewable sources by 2035. And I have to say that's very 2020 for us, because we hit that 60% renewable number in 2020, and we're only going up higher. And so back to that one person can make a difference. I am proud to say that starting in October of this year, the city of Agoura Hills, on a very tough vote, we will be moving up to 100% green energy as our default. 100% green energy is the default for our residents and businesses in town starting in October of this year. That has an immediate and significant impact on our GHG emissions literally overnight. It takes millions of dollars many years to build bike paths and all of these things that are great, but this is quite literally an overnight change in our GHG emissions. And like I said, it's one of my proudest achievements. Our city is also working on a climate action plan. We are the first in our area to be doing this. And, as you know, it's a planning document for both current and future city councils. And for example, the Clean Power Alliance move to 100%, that is fully 10% of helping us reach our goals for in our climate action plan, 10% right there overnight. And, we are on the brink of some major development in Agoura Hills. We have our state mandated housing numbers, also known as RHNA, Regional Housing Needs Assessment. And as my colleague Elise Buckley-Weber says, let's take 2 bites out of that same apple. We will be building housing, and we want that housing to be electric. We want it to be 100% electric. And so we're going to be hammering out those details in our climate action plan. And we are going to be having some very spirited discussion about the ordinances that we'll be writing, not only about residential, but for commercial and industrial, and do we need exemptions? So happy that I get to be at that table to have those discussions. But some of the other things in the climate action plan, pedestrian and bike friendly development, mandating EV infrastructure. We could have a whole different conversation about water. Water is very difficult with conservation and runoff. And so, like I said, it's great that we are preparing now for the development that is coming down the pike, and to have that climate action plan in place is going to be great. The big topic for the entire state, obviously, is housing and land use. That is really what the city councils have. It's much of our purview. And here in Agoura Hills, we have to balance that with the wildfire reality that we are facing more and more as climate change is ravaging the mountains around us. And so, part of my job is to help our residents understand that building housing and building the right kind of housing is actually not contrary to environmental stewardship, but the opposite. So we have seniors aging in place in large houses because there is no affordable, reasonable area for them to downsize here. We have young families that cannot afford to buy houses here or rent them. And so they're driving farther and farther to get into our fantastic school district. And that creates traffic and emissions and GHG emissions. And of course, we have a severe shortage of affordable and workforce housing. And this imbalance, and we have numbers, this massive imbalance of housing and jobs really does create the traffic and congestion pollution that none of us want. And, this, of course, is not unique to Agoura Hills, but it's our job on the city council to help bridge that understanding and make some of those really tough decisions. And the reality is that the environmental choice is going to be to build the right kind of housing, but it has to be in the right space. And I don't know if you can see my one prop here, but this is the Woolsey Fire outline. The gray is the Woolsey Fire outline, and Agoura Hills is what I've circled in the middle. So we have to be really careful how we build, because we don't want to build and push density into areas that we know are at great risk of being hit with wildfire again. So again, we have to balance the development with the realization that we are in a very high fire hazard severity zone. That's a mouthful. We are an evacuation route for many, all in the area, as you saw from that map. And of course, we are surrounded by beautiful open space that we want to preserve for future generations. So these are very tough decisions. Like I said, I'm honored to be at the table. I know I'm running out of time. I want to leave some time for Q&A, but I will mention just really quickly that we have other very exciting sustainability projects going on. I'm sure you've all heard about the Wildlife Bridge that is crossing over from the Simi Hills to the Santa Monica Mountains. That's part of Agoura Hills. So we're very excited that that's coming down the pike. We've got a linear park coming where we're changing a flood control channel that's all cement into beautiful green space that will be very close to our future development. And all of these things are possible because we have a council now that is forward thinking on the environmental and sustainability front. And the majority of us do fight for that vision, for not just for us, but for our future generations. So it goes back to you can't underestimate the shift that one person can make. And that's not despite being in a small town, but actually, especially in a small town. So with that, I want to thank you again. Happy to answer
so
any.
much. Thank you so much, Deborah, for your remarks. And now we want to take maybe 1 or 2 questions from the audience. And I encourage everyone to use in the bottom of your screen, there's reactions, and give Deborah all the hearts and the love. And thank you so much. And you're absolutely right. It is, you know, sometimes the most profound work starts so small, you know, locally. And that's why also the work of LALCV is so important, and to continue supporting environmental champions locally. So we're so honored to have you, and thank you, and keep it up. We're here for you. So one of the questions that the audience has is, let's see. You said the local climate plan that just passed was a tough vote. How can other small cities take action like the ones that you took in your city? How do we help bring people to the table that feel like it's not the place of a small city to lead the way on big global issues like climate change?
Yes, we are actually in the middle of our climate action plan. It hasn't passed yet. We're actually in the draft process. And I will say that part of our goal is to hold many public workshops. So we've had quite a few. Right now, they've been on Zoom, of course, because you know, we have been working on this for the past year. But we have had a lot of public engagement. A lot of times, you know, going through the council and committees and workshops. We have we actually have a citizens advisory group for one of our specific plans that is covering a lot of our housing development. We have a specific plan for the area that is going to have much of the housing that will satisfy our state mandates. And so we've brought in citizens to really get involved, because I think it's very easy to read a headline. I think it's very easy to think that the city council is making decisions without thinking things through. And that's just not the case at all. So we are trying as much as we can to get our citizens involved so that they can help draft this plan with us. And it's really been enlightening. It's really been uniting. And, you know, I think that's the part that is so exciting, is that this isn't a plan that the city council is creating and stuffing down anybody's throat. It's truly a community project. And I think that is really the best thing that other cities can take from our model, is that, you know, the more the merrier, because people have fantastic ideas. We have architects, we have GIS specialists, we have realtors, we have such a great body of people pitching in that that's what I would recommend for cities that are on the brink of doing this. And, you know, just to follow up, you know, you cities really need to be thinking about this right now, because again, as the RENA numbers, as the state housing numbers are getting larger and larger, we need to have those things in place so that when we build the right type of development.
Thank you so much. And we have one question, and quickly for you to respond. So around electric technologies. So how can you please talk about how promoting electric technologies like electrical vehicles and all of electrifying buildings, electrification lines up with your climate goals and participation at the Clean Power Alliance?
Absolutely. And that is a big part of our climate action plan. And of course, it's a big discussion point in Clean Power Alliance as well. But, you know, we have several model buildings around here. We have LEED buildings. We have, you know, we're going to be focusing more on EV accessibility instead of having them so far apart that people can't travel to and from. So, you know, we're actually very futuristic out here, and that we had solar on rooftops way before it was a thing. And so I think our town is really a forerunner in that space, especially when it comes to battery storage. We are the heart of the PSPS power shutoffs. We're talking about microgrids and storage on housing and in City Hall and all of those kinds of things. And so all of that is included in our climate action plan, and we hope to roll that out as we go through the process.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Deborah, for being here with us. And we appreciate so much your time. And we're so honored to give you this virtual, honor you virtually and send you this award. So thank you so much for being with us.
Thank you.
All right. So, okay. So moving forward, we want to next hear from some of our sponsors, and we have some, very special thank yous. And while we get, our slides to be up in the chat or in the screen, I want to take our fundraising chair, Joshua Torres. Por favor, alza la mano. Raise your hand, Joshua, do it. Thank you so much for all the work that you've done to put this together. All the board members, get your hands up. Thank you, everybody. And also the fundraising team, our treasurer, Marcia Gomez. And earlier I shared that all of these roles we take on as volunteers. We don't, all of the funds that we raise go directly to support other environmental champions. So thank you so much. And of course, our board members to volunteer in their time. Thank you so much, Bruce. And I see so many others here. Thank you so much for being here today. All right, so our sponsors. Again, thank you so much, Henry Stern. No sé, I don't see him here in my screen, but I hope he's here. So big shout out to him for being our sponsor. Edison, Skanka, SoCal Gas, PowerFin, Athens Services, the California Legal Conservation Borders, also Recology, HSG campaigns, Rick Chavez, gracias mil for being a sponsor. We have eco-friendly friends. I feel like we're all eco, but we got to get more of your names in there. And that's Speaker Anthony Rendon, Assembly Member Laura Freeman, Bruce, thank you, Jonathan Parfit. He's been a long-standing friend, former board member as well. Kindle Gagan, Richard Franz, Ruben Gonzalez, and as eco supporters, we got Senator Ben Allen, which I felt like I saw here somewhere in the audience. Councilmember Buck Blumenfield, hello, I see you here. Thank you so much for being here. He's going to be part of our panel, so I'm excited to hear from him. Former Mayor of Agoura Hills, Supervisor Hilda Solis, Councilmember Nick Schultz, Mayor Jeff Maloney, Bruce Resnick, Mike Young, I saw him earlier. Thank you for being with us, Ron Stone, and Ted Bardaki, who is so exciting to also see as a co-sponsor. So we want to see all of you being our eco-sponsors. So please consider making a contribution for the LALCV so we can continue supporting environmental champions locally here in the LA area. Okay, so of course, it will not be a party without each of you. So thank you so much for joining us and for bringing your incredible energy and for standing up for justice for people and for the environment. So now I want to introduce quickly Edison International, and we would like now to recognize one of our top sponsors, which is Edison International. And speaking now is going to be Rudy Gonzalez. He's the government relations manager for Southern California Edison and a subsidiary of Edison International. So Rudy, take it away.
Thank you so much, Aura, and thank you for allowing me a few minutes to share with you this afternoon. Southern California Edison is a proud sponsor of the League of Conservation Voters because we share many of the same values around the environment. I'd like to congratulate Mayor Pro Tem Klein Lopez, who I have the pleasure of working with. She's in one of the cities that I work with, and City Council President Martinez on being recognized for their environmental contributions. Edison looks forward to working together with you on building a clean energy future. At Southern California Edison, building a cleaner, more sustainable future is one of our top goals. We are committed to helping preserve the environment. There are few issues as important as dealing with the climate crisis. In our Pathway 2045 paper, we've outlined a vision for how California can achieve deep decarbonization in a way that is affordable and practical. Most importantly, we've identified what steps are necessary to expedite the clean energy transition. Our plan is simple: continue cleaning up the electric grid and electrify things that currently run on fossil fuels. Today, we are at approximately 43% carbon-free electricity. We will reach 80% by 2030 and 100% by 2045. Starting today, we can use this increasingly clean electricity to power the transportation and building sectors. Because as the grid gets cleaner, so too does everything that's plugged into it. We're focused on transportation and buildings because combined, they represent almost 60% of the greenhouse gas emissions in the state and 80% or more of various ground level air pollutants. We can switch to electric technologies today, like electric vehicles and heat pumps, and reduce greenhouse gas emissions and improve local air quality, all without sacrificing comfort or affordability. We aren't standing idly by. We're working hard to build this clean energy future and to make it easier for our customers to choose clean energy solutions today. We're building a grid that can support a clean energy future while being resilient to threats like heat waves, wildfires, and sea level rise. Our Charge Ready 2 program will launch later this summer. It will provide incentives to help install an additional 38,000 electric vehicle chargers in Southern California. This includes a goal to build 50% of the charging stations in environmentally impacted communities with a special emphasis on multifamily dwellings. This is just one of the many different ways we are helping our customers navigate this clean energy transition. And this is why we'd like to thank the LA League of Conservation Voters Board for the work that they do. Thank you for supporting environmental champions for local office. In order to address the climate crisis, we need environmental champions at all levels of government, including the local level. Southern California Edison is working to build a clean energy future, and we appreciate partnerships with organizations like the Los Angeles League of Conservation Voters that are equally focused on the environment. Again, I thank you for the opportunity to spend a few minutes of time with you, and we are glad we are able to support LALCV. Thank you.
Thank you so much for your remarks. We appreciate your support. And now I would like to also introduce Skanska Mike Aparicio, who is the the Executive Vice President of Skanska USA Civil. And he now is going to give you a few remarks, a 1-minute remark, and share with us how they have been also and been an incredible partner to LALCV.
Thank you, Alda. Skanska is proud to be a long time partner with LALCV and the great work that you do in protecting the Los Angeles basin and worldwide environment. You truly are leaders that way, and not just on the environment, but in quality of life throughout the Los Angeles basin. We want to specifically congratulate the 2 honorees today, Los Angeles City Council President Nury Martinez, and who we just heard from, Agoura Hills Mayor Pro Tem Deborah Klein Lopez, both very worthy advocates and champions for the environment and quality of life in the Los Angeles basin. At Skanska, we are also, like Edison, committed to be a net zero carbon emitter by 2045. And our construction work that we do throughout Los Angeles really tries to get that right by building in a very green fashion. We are very proud that in 20
Did I froze or?
I think it's Mike.
Okay, Mike, I don't think we can hear you. I think technology is not on our side right now. Oh, Mike, come back.
Maybe we could do the video for Nury and then come back to Mike.
Definitely. Great. Good. Excellent.
2021. We will bring us in 2021.
There it goes.
Okay, sorry about that. We couldn't hear you. So while we try to figure out the technical difficulties, what I'm going to do is introduce Nury, Councilwoman Nury Martinez, who unfortunately couldn't be here with us. But the beauty of this virtual world is that we're going to have her here giving us some remarks via a video. So Nury, as many of you know, is the first Latina council president in the city's 170th years in history. We also are so proud to know that she's a working class immigrant, like many of us. And Martinez is a glass ceiling shattering leader who brings families first, women's rights, advocacy to her efforts on behalf of families in the 6th Council District in the city of Los Angeles. She's done incredible things, and Martinez Green's New Deal is focused on environmental justice, first and foremost for low-income people, people of color, communities that historically have suffered from polluted air, water, and land, and more than other affluent communities. So with no further ado, I want to show Nury Martinez's remarks, and I hope that we can also congratulate her when we see her. I don't think I can hear the video myself.
Yeah, neither can I.
Can you see it?
You can see it. I think you might just need to share sound from your computer.
Hello, it is an honor to speak with you today and receive the Smith-Weiss Environmental Champions Award. I always say that I became an environmentalist not out of choice, but because I had to. I grew up in and still live in the Northeast San Fernando Valley, a place that for generations has become a dumping ground for things like power plants, factories, and freeways, a place that contains land uses that would be unacceptable in more affluent communities. When you grow up around this, environmentalism is not an abstract idea. It is something you literally see, smell every day. You see diesel trucks and smokestacks. You can smell the fumes coming from nearby factories. You witness the effects that these facilities have on your friends, neighbors, and families. In the Northeast San Fernando Valley, children carry around inhalers because of their asthma, and older residents suffer from heart attacks and other illnesses caused or exacerbated by pollution. When you grow up in a place like the Northeast San Fernando Valley, you have to be an environmentalist because more often than not, your life depends on it. The environmental justice facing Los Angeles is not just reflected in the abundance of polluting facilities in low-income communities, but the lack of positive ones. Areas like the Northeast San Fernando Valley and South LA have the least amount of park space in the entire state. During the summer, these areas suffer from extreme heat. And during the rainy season, they experience local flooding with water getting as high as several feet on residential and commercial streets. However, this is a really important moment at the city, state, and federal level. We are seeing an unprecedented investment in infrastructure. And if these resources are coordinated, we can truly transform communities. We can build streets that are safe for kids to walk and bike to school, that has shade for elderly person waiting for the bus, and that reduces local flooding by capturing and cleaning stormwater. However, we can't just expect this to happen because we have seen for decades that low-income communities of color are often last in line for these types of investments. Projects first go to more affluent communities with the loudest voices. This is why it's critical that we ensure that infrastructure money is used to address a deep-seated inequity that we see across the city. That is what environmentalism should mean in places like Los Angeles. Not just preserving the Santa Monica Mountains or wildlife habitat, but improving the ignored areas of our city. Thank you again, League of Conservation Voters, for honoring me with the Smith Weiss Environmental Champions Award. I look forward to continuing to work with you towards a greener future for all of Los Angeles.
Thank you so much for those virtual remarks. And we appreciate so much all the work that she's done here in the city of Los Angeles and in her own community in Pacoima. So this is one of my favorite parts of this program, and I'm so looking forward to see it and to be part of it. So now we're gonna have a panel of a few of our environmental champions here in the city of Los Angeles. And I just want to say that I am sad to report that Councilmember Bunning is not gonna be able to join us, but we have another 3 very incredible city council members with us. And okay, so first, I want to start with, this is going to take about 20-25 minutes. And while we do not have our city council member president today, we have this special panel featuring Los Angeles city council members who have been endorsed by LALCV. So yes. It is my honor to bring up Councilmember Bob Bloomingfield from District 3, Councilmember Porcoretz, District 5, and Councilmember Nithya Raman in District 4. And as I said, unfortunately, my bunny will not be with us. We have a few prepared questions for you. And once we get through those, we will start taking questions from everyone else here in the audience. So stay tuned and get ready. And each council member will be allowed to respond to each question. And of course, we don't have all the time in our day today, but we're going to ask each city council members to keep their response to a minute or so that we can make sure that everybody's voice and response is heard. So let's get started. And I believe that now Josh is gonna make sure that we can feature them. I don't know how that virtually happens, but I am full. There you go. The 4 of us are here. So, okay, first question. Almost 2 years ago, the city of Los Angeles adopted a climate action plan. Some people have referred to this document as the LA's own version of the Green New Deal. What can you share about the current status of this plan, the climate action plan, and what actions has the city taken to implement it?
And who's this question for?
For all of you.
Paul, it's for you.
Okay, it's for me. Thank you, and thank you for having all of us, and congratulations to our 2 very notable honorees. First, I'd say to meet our renewable energy goals, DWP has convened a group called LA 100, which has worked with the National Renewable Energy Laboratory to create a pathway to 100% renewable by certain dates, 3 of which were 2045. A motion has been introduced to look at only the 4th 2035 date, and I amended it to look at the date of 2030. I think we'll get most of the way there by 2030 because we're transforming our last coal plant into a renewable energy hub in 2025. And I want to thank our MC, Ara Vasquez, for helping to lead us in the Beyond Coal effort, which got us in this direction. We also will be closing down our 3 coastal gas plants by 2030. I think whether we achieve those goals timely depends on outside pressure and constant attention. So I encourage LALCV to help provide that pressure. But given how fast our technology is moving, I think we can get there sooner if we have the political will. And I would say there's also a little confusion around our city's climate action plan because the mayor has a version, the council has a version. We three of us authored a climate emergency version, and the council in the annual budget just funded a climate action plan to build into our general plan. So we just approved a motion in our environment committee to bring all of these together into one report for better tracking, and hopefully that'll ease the confusion a little bit.
Okay, I would love to hear also from maybe Councilmember Bloomingfield or
Sure.
Councilmember Raman.
Sure, I'll certainly add on to it, and it's great to see you, and it's great to be here amongst all the LALCV friends and family. As you know, I was on the board for many years, so it's always, I try never to miss an LALCV event because it's coming home week for me when I do that. So nice to see you all, and congratulations to the honorees for sure. And yeah, the exciting thing in LA with our climate action plan or our Green New Deal, we have so much going on. And it's great if we can consolidate all into one plan. But I mean, you look at, and just historically, even the precursors to the climate action plan, like dealing with energy efficiency, as some of you here know, because I've worked with some of you on this, I was very big on a motion a couple of years ago to look at the single biggest source of our energy emissions, which is our buildings. And about the majority of our energy comes from just 4% of those buildings. And so we put in some ordinances to really see how we can create greener buildings standards and those kinds of things. Just one of the many things that we are doing and can do under this sort of broad umbrella of a climate action plan or sustainability plan. But the nice thing in LA, because there are so many of us that are committed to the environment, certainly my colleagues who are here with me today, that we try to incorporate this into everything. Even we're as public works chair, we're working on street furniture right now and making sure that street furniture creates more shade for folks, so that in that plan where we're creating more street furniture, we know that is inextricably linked to getting people out of their cars. And so there's so much happening, and I'm proud to be part of most of these efforts. And I know I've gone beyond my minute because I could talk for literally hours about this stuff. It gets me charged up, but I'll stop there and move on to the next question.
Thank you so much. And Councilwoman Bremen?
Yes, I'm sorry, I missed the last part of what you said for that last answer, so I hope I'm not repeating what was already said. But yeah, one thing I'm really excited about is that it does feel like there both is a huge amount of energy within the council to take forward steps on climate. But I think just as importantly, there is so much momentum on the outside to take steps forward. And so, yes, there are multiple plans or overlapping goals from the mayor and from the city council. And I think there's different agencies that have a lot of ability to take steps forward. But the thing that has been exciting for me is that anytime that any of those issues has been on a committee agenda or on our council agenda, we get a lot of emails and calls about it. And I think that's thanks to the work that you're doing here. That's thanks to the work of young climate activists, like in the Sunrise Movement. And people are just pumped about us meeting and exceeding any of our climate goals. And so I think, so much has been shared about exactly what those plans are right now, but I think I just want to emphasize at this moment how important it is for the council to have and hear from people who support those goals and support ambitious steps forward towards those goals. So thank you very much. And thank you for having me today.
Thank you so much. And so I'm going to keep the questions going because I know that the audience also wants to speak with you and ask you questions. So the second question, and maybe we start with you first, Councilwoman Bremen, since you were last. So the second question is, already today we are seeing the impact of climate change, such as more severe heat waves, more intense wildfires, and longer and more severe droughts. What can Los Angeles do in terms of climate adaptation to help protect our communities against the worst of these impacts?
Yeah, that's a great question. I do think that one of the things that we need to be thinking about in thinking about the impacts of climate change are thinking about where we're building going forward and how we're building in the city. I think our building rules in the city have encouraged people to, I think Mayor Pro Tem, you were talking about this earlier as well, that people are living really far away from the city center because they can't afford to live there. They're living far away from job centers because we can't afford to live where we're working. And I think trying to find ways in which we can actually allow for people to be living near their jobs and trying to adapt some of our housing rules to make it easier for cheaper and more dense housing to be built in near job centers, I think is a really key way that our city should be adapting to some of these issues. I also think that one of the biggest things I hear about in the office, and I'm more excited to take a lot more action on, is about our green canopy and making sure that we have more tree cover in more parts of the city. There's not only is inequity written into the fabric of the city, in housing, in where oil wells are placed, where our highways are, but it's also where our trees are. And there's incredible inequity in where our tree cover lies in the city of Los Angeles. And I think making sure that we're planting and caring for our urban forest now is a really important way to ensuring that our almost inevitable rise in temperatures is equally combated by our ability to provide that most beautiful of things in a very hot city, which is shade. So
thank you.
I can pick up on that because I totally agree with you. And it's one of the reasons as a budget committee member, one of my top priorities was getting the urban forestry funded, because we need to be able to plant the trees and maintain those trees. It is essential, and that's part of our adaptation. Also building on what Councilman Rahman talked about how we build needs to change. I have a motion that looks at the materials that we use in terms of fire safety, and that will take Fire District 1, which covers part of the city, and expand it to further parts of the city as a way to work on life and safety and prevent fires. But the other piece, which I'm really excited about too, when it deals with trying to change the climate, the best thing is trees. We know that. Expiration is a cooling process, and trees providing shade and that. But there's also some new technology, cool pavements. And I don't know if Jonathan Parfrey's here. I don't see him yet, but I worked with Jonathan, who's also a former board member, actually a guy who I brought onto the LALCV board years ago. But we worked with him on the cool pavement stuff. And cool pavement is basically like putting sunscreen on the street. You coat the street with a zinc compound, and it reflects the heat. And it really works. The first cool street in the nation, public street, was in my district. And then we went on to test it in 15 other streets throughout the city. And it's so successful that we then created the first cool neighborhood, which is also in my district as the first test pilot, where we took a large series of streets, painted them all with this material. And not only can you go and see the difference when you use a heat gun, when you buy from Home Depot, you can see a 15-degree difference. But something that's really cool is we have this picture, and maybe I can find it and put it on the chat here. A NASA picture from space. You look down and you can see the crescent of where we applied the cool
Should
street
be the event, not this event. I don't know. Otherwise, it's fine.
Someone else talking, but anyway, I'll see if I can't get this on the chat. But it's really cool where from NASA you have this picture satellite image of Los Angeles, and you can see a cool crescent, which literally is where we painted the streets with this cool pavement material. So that's just one of many things, but it's one that I'm particularly excited about as you fuse sort of technology and climate change.
And I'd add that the mayor's released something called the Resilient LA Plan, which details some ways we can adapt to the uncertain and likely dangerous future we're facing. But I still believe we primarily need to focus our efforts on mitigation, because if we don't succeed in reducing our emissions, adaptation won't be enough for very long. In 2018, I authored legislation along with Councilmember Blumenfield and in partnership with the LEAP LA Coalition to create a climate emergency mobilization office whose goals are to address climate and toxic pollution by putting in leadership positions Indigenous, frontline, and labor communities. These are the communities that bear the brunt of climate and toxic pollution, or in the case of labor, the brunt of the policies to address the pollution. So we're creating a climate emergency commission made up of representatives from those communities. We hired the director, Agoura, in February, and got her office finally mostly funded in the annual budget a couple of weeks ago. And it has been frustrating that it's been very difficult to get this funded. But I think this year we've finally done that job. She's working now to put together community assemblies in the most polluted parts of the city, and they'll be helping to create a climate emergency level implementation plan to actually mobilize the city at the speed and scale necessary. And it includes emergency preparedness and adaptation. And that's where I'm spending a lot of my time and energy. And we've been looking at things, as was mentioned with our trees, we have to look at things like our sidewalk improvement plan. As a result of the lawsuit, we're committed to tens of millions of dollars to fix our sidewalks each year. But if we do this the wrong way, we'll be uprooting thousands of trees and actually dramatically reducing our tree canopy. So we have to make sure that we use meandering sidewalks and every other trick that we have to make sure that we can fix the sidewalks without ruining our trees.
Excellent. Thank you so much for this question. I have one last question that I don't know, maybe because I'm very embedded in this work, it seems it's something that we're going to be able to answer very easily. But as we phase out of fossil fuel, and phasing out of fossil fuels has been getting more and more attention lately, both locally and nationally. What is Los Angeles doing to reduce or eliminate the production and distribution of fossil fuels?
I'll go first if I can.
You go first. Yeah.
Whatever order. I know the city council has been grappling with what to do with fossil fuels for a good 8 years. With neighborhood oil drilling, with the massive impacts of the SoCal gas, Aliso Canyon methane leak, which is possibly the worst climate disaster in history, with our overdependence on gasoline-powered vehicles. We know as long as Angelenos are using oil and gas, fossil fuels companies will provide it. And up until now, the city's been basically rubber stamping oil permits. We found this a number of years ago when a renewal of the oil drilling site at the Beverly Center occurred. And we were trying to get the city to take a close look at it. And we basically were told, we don't have the technological ability, we just rubber stamp these. So we've been pushing for years to create a petroleum administrator position, which we did, and a department. Unfortunately, we found the perfect petroleum administrator, and so he was snapped up to run that effort at the state level, although we're in the process of replacing the person in that position. It took a long time. But we have now gone through our environmental committee, which has declared in that committee oil drilling a non-conforming land use, which we expect to be finalized, and to use an amortization process to phase it out altogether. So that's a significant step. I know we'll be looking at a ban on gasoline cars. The state has a goal of 2035. Berkeley is working on a 2025 effort. And I'd have to say, if I were king, I would ban gas cars today, but I'm sure LA will have a more demanding schedule to do that as well. My philosophy is, if you have lung cancer, you stop smoking. If your planet is overheating, you stop pouring gasoline on it. I know we're also going to look at requiring EV rental cars at LAX. I've worked on a fossil fuel non-proliferation treaty resolution. There's a lot of different steps we're taking. And hopefully we make enough of a difference that other cities follow our example, and that helps us survive this crisis.
Thank you. Councilmember Bloomingfield, would you like to add anything?
Sure. No, it's certainly, Paul covered a lot of it. And by the way, that image I talked about, John from my office was able to put it in the chat. So if somebody wants to see the NASA image with the cool crescent, take a look. The other thing we're doing in terms of the fossil fuels, I put a motion forward, which the council adopted, even though it's controversial, to divest from companies that are taking risks with, oil companies that are basically that we are investing in, to try to speak with our pocketbook as well. So we are in the process of doing that through our pension system, and also looking at our insurance investments and trying to decarbonize those, so to speak, as well. And by looking at where we have invested in fossil fuels and where we're supporting through our insurance companies that are. So we can speak both on the grand scale with our pocketbook, because we are a market player as Los Angeles. Our pensions are huge. And then we can also do what we can on the ground, and many of the things that Paul talked about, and in terms of moving toward electric vehicles, creating the charging stations, doing all the things that we know we need to do to get Los Angeles out of the fossil fuel world. And so I'm proud that we're doing it and taking a leadership role.
Thank you. Councilwoman?
Yeah, not that much to add. Both of those answers were so comprehensive, but just to say that, as someone who has been an observer of city council far longer than they've been a member of city council, I just feel like I feel very lucky to be on the council at a moment when it just feels like the enthusiasm and the focus on moving us forward towards fossil fuel free future is so universally shared by my fellow council members, and especially those who are on this panel with me today. And just wanted to express my gratitude and my happiness at being able to be part of that movement. So thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. So I think this was the last question for the panel. I don't see any more questions on the chat. I want to thank you so much for being a champion for the environment, which is, to me personally, the most exciting part, to have you representing us at the city council. So thank you so much, because it's hard work. So we see you, we support you. Thank you so much for being also an environmental steward, and also for being an LALCV supporter.
Thank you, Aura.
Thank you.
Okay, so that was it for our panel, which is so exciting to see so many environmental friends here speaking about their work that is happening in Los Angeles. And now I want to bring forward another incredible environmental champion, and this is Senator Henry Stern. And I mean, I have so many personal things about to say about Senator Henry, but I'm gonna let him speak. And thank you so much for being here with us, and for being a supporter, and for also fighting for us at the state level, and for fighting for better environmental policies that protect people and the environment. So with no further ado, did I lose? There you are. Thank you so much for being with us.
Thank you, Aura. Muchísimas gracias. What a powerful panel. You got all the heavyweights in Los Angeles with you here. So I'm just here for Mayor Pro Tem Klein Lopez, and to support Nury. You at LALCV, you could not have picked more fearless leaders at this moment. So I know you had a lot of the heavyweights from LA City Council on, but I guess I just want to say that watching Debbie go through a very hard year and get challenged on her leadership, not just on environment, but just having the guts to stand up to people when they bully you, and when things get really rough. And people show their character, I think, when things get hard. These are not easy jobs. When you got someone, graffitiing outside your house where your kids are sleeping inside, like our council president Martinez just had, and she doesn't balk at all. When Debbie had people coming at her over, wanting to be able to drink beer in the middle of a pandemic and have super spreader events, and she had the guts to stand up to them. I don't know. They're not necessarily LALCV issues per se, but it shows you the quality of their character. So I think you pick people who are brave, and it shows, when you have the whole LA City Council here, and you know, folks like Peter Kraut and Fran Pavley and Murtaza and all these incredible leaders out in the Conejo Valley showing up, and our West Siders like Rick, and it's quite an amazing group. So I'm honored to be amongst y'all, and yeah, we're trying to push the envelope in Sacramento a little bit. Try to put some money in place and not just move money, but yeah, push the envelope as a policy matter. We're really failing as a state right now. We can pat ourselves on the back a lot, and there's a lot of great programs, but we're still the largest petroleum economy on earth besides the US and China. So we're we're number 3 in terms of our contribution to climate change as a state. And LA alone, if we went off of fossil fuels, we'd break OPEC overnight. So don't underestimate the scope of your mission here. Anyway, thank you to Stephanie and all the rest of the team who made this happen. But I don't want to get in your guys' way. Did you want to? You can grill me, Auda, or I can just pass it off. I don't even know where I'm coming at in the agenda right now. So I hope I didn't mess up the flow. But I mostly just wanted to speak to the quality of your honoree's character, and I've known Debbie a very long time, and the mayor pro tem is she was built for this. She really was. I hope some others come up alongside her. I saw Kiyomi somewhere in here. I want to see her in the mix too. We gotta get Ms. Kowalski in the public office and some of these others. But anyway, love you guys. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. And I feel like your remarks is a beautiful reminder of the work that LALCV does and all of the support that we provide to environmental champions in a moment where sometimes being an environmental champion in running for office is hard. So we wanted to create this event, or we host this event actually every year, so that we can honor incredible people like Nury Martinez and like Debbie, and also to bring the community together so that we can continue building and learning and reminding ourselves that we're not alone, and that is stronger, that we're actually stronger together. So thank you so much for being a supporter. Thank you so much for fighting the good fight in Sacramento. Let us know how we can, continue supporting you. And don't forget that LALCV is a PAC that relies completely on your generosity. So please consider making a contribution for our committee, and so that we can continue doing this work and continue supporting local environmental candidates that sometimes need so much, from us. So thank you so much. So we understand also that it's hard to be in this virtual world and in a Zoom call in this time of the pandemic. So right now we want to invite you to join a breakout room, which is very free flow, and is some of the members of the LALCV are going to be facilitating these conversations. But basically, it's a place where you can chat with your fellow environmental, supporters, stewards, and where folks can ask questions and get to know each other better. So I think Josh is gonna take us through that process. And so we can go in through the breakout rooms and get to know each other a little more intimately and better. So just wait for it, and now you can join your own room.
Josh, is there a specific room you want me to jump in?
I thought I had assigned everybody. You should be able to just
Tater.
accept.
I didn't get a thing.
You should be room 3. I don't know how to
I'm
reassign you.
room 3.
Rudy, you gonna join a room? I can join. I know there's a way. You're on mute, Bruce.
Hi. Our session is back. It was Deborah, Peter, John, and Ted.
Welcome back. Hopefully you guys had a good discussion.
Yeah.
Just a few more seconds and everyone else will come back and then we can wrap things up.
Ours was well facilitated.
Good job, Bruce.
John's biased.
That's true.
Well, and we are back. So, wow, you know, these Zoom virtual meetings and the ether, whatever we call this, are always difficult. But look how many of us are still here. So please give yourself a big round of applause for being here and sticking with us in the Zoom world and bringing your best energy and listening to all of the amazing, you know, panelists. Deborah, Klein Lopez, Mayor, please, thank you so much for being here. We love you. We thank you so much for all the work that you're doing. You know, part of these events or part of the ethos of LALCV is also for us to continue building community. So do not leave with saying hello to a stranger that you just saw in this virtual, you know, world. Share your contact, maybe with the people that you met in the panel. You know, ask questions to a board member here. And I don't know how we can do this, Josh, that maybe we can feature the board members so that folks can see, you know, the incredible work, the volunteer work that everybody does. So just raise your head, shake your head, whatever you think that you can do to, you know, to let us know. But we are, you know, at the end of our program. And as you have witnessed today, it is local elected officials who heavily influence policies that have oversight of and play a significant role influencing our air, our clean air, clean water, parks, transportation, trees, ocean protection, better streets, better housing. And nothing is done in a vacuum, of course. So while education, social services, and policy services are not at the center of environmental concerns, there is intersection with environmental justice. So thank you, thank you, thank you. This is our website, and this is so we are on Facebook, on Twitter, and on Instagram. Please follow us, share our work, and, you know, make sure that you continue sharing your generosity with us and consider making a contribution. And please, of course, if you are able, visit LALCV and look for the donate button. I think I shared it earlier in the chat. No donation is small. Your contribution makes a tremendous difference. So thank you so much for your contribution. And I want to thank again our sponsors one more time. Without them, we couldn't do the important work of helping elect pro-environmental candidates. Thank you again for joining us, for that amazing panel, for the honorees, for all of you. Thank you so much. You see, we have this beautiful panel of folks here that have been our sponsors and have making sure that we continue lifting our mission, which is supporting other environmental champions. Thank you guys so much. So I think this is it.
I think we're taking a picture, a group photo.
Picture time. Excellent. So get your best face now and your beautiful smiles.
And I will take 2 shots. So just, you're going to smile through it. All right, ready? 1, 2, 3. And then I'm going to do one more. Thank you all. Such a pleasure to see you. Can't wait to see you in person. Big hugs. All right, 1, 2, 3.
Oh, wait for it.
Thanks.
Thanks again.
Thank
Bye.
you, everyone. Have a great, great Sunday. Thank you, Lorraine. Thank you, Mustafa, for coming. Christopher, thank you. Thank you so much.